But there's no question that the Republican Party today is dominated, driven, and intimidated by Donald Trump and the MAGA Republicans. And that is a threat to this country.
Stop MAGA!
MAGA Republicans do not respect the Constitution.
Stop Make America Great Again.
They refuse to accept the results of a free election.
Stop MAGA!
There's no place for political violence.
Stop Make America Great Again.
Period. None. Ever. Donald Trump and the MAGA Republicans represent an extremism that threatens the very foundations of our republic, this nation. MAGA forces are determined to take this country backward. Put it in reverse. Now America must choose to move forward or to move backward. We can't allow violence to be normalized in this country. It's wrong, no matter what the white supremacists and extremists say. I made a bet on you, and it's paying off. I believe America's at an inflection point.
That's a lot of fake news. Whoa.
I will not stand by and watch. I will not. Ladies and gentlemen, we can't be pro-insurrectionists.
Stop MAGA!
MAGA Republicans do not respect the Constitution.
Stop Make America Great Again.
They refuse to accept the results of a free election.
Stop MAGA!
There's no place for political violence.
Stop Make America Great Again.
Period. None. Ever.
Joe Biden came to Philadelphia, Pennsylvania to give the most vicious, hateful, and divisive speech. Our country's going to hell. I think Philadelphia was a great choice to make this speech of hatred. I feel like the red lion behind him like the devil. Our country is going to hell. Biden thinks making America great again is bad for our country. MAGA, he says we gotta stop MAGA. That's when I defined it. It means make America great again. We have to stop it. Making America great again is great for our country. The danger to democracy comes from the radical left, not from the right. Stop MAGA!
MAGA Republicans do not respect the Constitution.
Stop Make America Great Again.
They refuse to accept the results of a free election.
Stop MAGA!
There's no place for political violence.
Stop Make America Great Again.
Period. None. Ever. We, the people. I've come to this place where it all began. We, the people. To speak as plainly as I can. We, the people. About the power we have in our own hands. We, the people. It's within our power. It's in our hands.
Stop MAGA!
MAGA Republicans do not respect the Constitution.
Stop Make America Great Again.
They refuse to accept the results of a free election.
Stop MAGA!
There's no place for political violence.
Stop Make America Great Again.
Period. None. Ever.
And now, Matt Wright and Spike Cohen.
Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, and welcome to the Vanguard. For shit. This is why we don't do live anymore. Spike, yep. For
Spike Cohen.
For Spike, 3,000 years of longing Cohen. I am Matt Wright, and together we are traversing the muddied waters of freedom. Woo!
Hey, folks, we're all going to remember how to do this together.
Yeah, this is the first time in quite a while that either one of us have done this, and it's going just as well as we expected. We just want to remind you why we switched to a non-live format, but first and foremost, no matter which platform you are watching this on, whether you're watching this on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, wherever, and especially if you are an audio listener, to all of you we say, Bula Vanaka.
Bula Vanaka.
Bula Vanaka.
And of course, be sure to like, follow, subscribe, hit the bell. If this is on YouTube, if you're watching this on YouTube, hit the bell. Share this right now. We are live. Interact with us. We are live for your interaction. And share the gift of Muddy Waters today. Kids love it. You know what they also love? They love exclusive content. That's what the kids are telling me. They love the exclusive content.
They do love the
and of
exclusive
course,
content.
we offer exclusive content every weekend. We have a Muddied Waters subscriber only episode, which we will be doing this weekend as well. And if you go to anchor.fm/muddywaters/subscribe for only $10 a month, you get exclusive access to that. You also get an ad-free listening and viewing experience on all podcasts, all of them. And then you also get an exclusive 10% discount at the Muddy Waters Media store at muddywatersmedia.com, as well as participating that's the word I'm looking for. Merchants. See, this is why we don't do it live anymore. Participating merchants, and again, that exclusive content that only the subscribers get. It's
Sweet.
$10 a month. Anchor.fm/muddywaters/subscribe.
That's right. You can get that sweet, sweet content at anchor.fm/muddywaters/subscribe. D. Dockery asks, do you guys do the Anchor call-in anymore? Yeah, we do, but like literally we've had, D, you have made up like 90% of the calls, and I think it's 2 that you have made up the 90% of.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, like we really haven't gotten that many calls in recently. We were going to put that into the new format as well, but we just haven't really been getting them. So if people
we got calls, we'd be happy to put them in.
Put them in. We would not have an issue with that. So thank you all for being here for our first live episode in what feels like a long time. Yeah.
Yeah.
It does.
Welcome to the first live episode we've had in about 7 or 8 years.
Right.
Which is incredible because we've only been around for 6 years. So, and of course, that means, since we're live, that means that it's now time for the Mudwater Mushroom Coffee Replacement Cacao Rapid Fire segment, which is brought to you by Mudwater. I know what you're thinking. Where the hell have you two been? Well, here we are. But you're also thinking, Spike, Matt, I am sick of coffee. I don't like its deliciousness. I don't like how it wakes me up in the morning. I need something that wakes me up slightly less and tastes like a combination of masala chai, cacao, mushrooms, turmeric, sea salt, cinnamon, and literally nothing else, because I need something that's healthier for me, that doesn't get me quite as shaky, just a little shaky, and doesn't lead to terrible health conditions later on in life. I want something that is neuroprotective with the power of mushrooms. Well, great news. If you go to muddywaterstofreedom.com/mud, you can get Mudwater, which has all of those things you just said to us for some reason. And how does it taste? Buy some honey. Buy something sweet, maybe even some coffee. You could just add a little bit of coffee. Half and half. Half coffee, half Mudwater. Go to Mudwater. Go to muddywatersfreedom.com/mud. You will get your starter pack today. Now, you know who probably could use some Mudwater? Vladimir Zelensky.
Or Vladimir Putin.
Or actually, yeah, you know what? He
probably could
use some milk,
I just want to say, because we don't ever get a chance to do the live thing anymore, we got an espresso machine for our wedding, which is 38 days away. Somebody sent us an espresso machine, and I have not needed like the energy drinks in weeks. I am just caffeinated.
You're just filled with caffeine, yeah.
I'm just filled with caffeine all the time, and it's fantastic. And espresso is like that. Keurig, throw that away. Throw the Keurig away. Chuck that thing and go Nespresso. It's fantastic.
It's like the opposite of Mudwater, basically.
Yeah, it's the exact. It's not completely opposite, because Mudwater has 1/7 of the caffeine, and Nespresso has 100% of the caffeine.
Yes, well, 100% of the caffeine in a cup of espresso, which is higher than the cup. Wait, is it higher than the amount that's in coffee, or is it just that it's in a much smaller
it's
dose?
just concentrated.
Yeah, so then you drink 7 of them. It's still, you gotta get hydrated.
Yeah,
so.
And you know, when you add milk to it, you're like making your bones strong. So you know the calcium helps.
Yes, it's filled with vitamin D from the milk. It's good for you. It's a health food, really.
It's truly, it's like it's a protein shake and a health food. It's fine. Good. So Ukraine is pushing back against Russia, and like a lot of people in the world seem to be surprised by this. not anybody that realizes that they've gotten more than 35 billion in foreign aid from other countries to help them fight this war. Weapons,
Yeah.
planes, whatever they need to fight this war.
Yeah.
It's really not that surprising. But they are pushing absolutely back as hard as they can. And I remember there's been a number of things that we have said on this show, one of us more than others, where one of us didn't think Putin was going to go into Russia, and one of us was wrong.
Yeah, I did not think that.
We both figured, and both of us did think that this thing was going to be over relatively quickly, and Ukraine was just going to be kind of flattened.
That I didn't necessarily think. I wasn't sure of that, but I did think that there would be a tremendous amount of civilian casualties, and that has happened.
Right. And I thought that we both were kind of on the, like, this is going to be over relatively quickly, with Ukraine ending up giving back some of the provinces that Russia was trying to get, and like, so that way it would just be wash your hands of it and we're done.
I'm not sure I ever said I may have, but I don't think I ever said a timeline. I do still think it's possible that this could end in a stalemate where Russia pulls back to the so-called Donbass region, where they retain their occupation of Donbass and Crimea. All of the gains we're seeing the Ukrainians so far anyway have been the regions outside of it, where they actually went into the interior proper of Ukraine, outside of Donbass and that. So I could foresee a situation where there becomes this sort of uneasy truce / new lines being drawn in Donbass and obviously already in Crimea from 2014. But that also there'd be tremendous amount of Ukrainian civilians. What I did not anticipate, and I'm not sure anyone could have, Vladimir Putin certainly didn't, was just how poorly equipped his ground troops and his military were to engage in this kind of what they hoped to be blitz warfare. It turned out they weren't ready for any of that at all.
No, absolutely not. Now, one of the things that a lot of people are saying that they are fearful of is that they're fearful that Putin, knowing that his back is up against the wall, and should it come out that he ended up losing this war means that he will be out. He will be ousted. A lot of people have started floating the idea that there's the potential that he could use nukes in the near future in order to regain control, which, I mean, I don't think that would just be taking control. That's not regaining it. And he would, just launch the nukes, turn this thing nuclear, and completely change the face of the war. What do you think the odds are of that?
It's not zero, which is frightening. I think that the odds are, I don't think they're high. I'd sooner think that Putin is going to try to do something where he retains Donbass and Crimea and claims that that's the victory that he wanted, and that he had, in the meantime, he denazified Ukraine. But I don't, or at least work to denazify Ukraine. I'm not sure that he would use nukes, but the thing is, it's kind of scary. We have to rely, in order for him to not use nukes, we kind of have to rely on him being a liar and a corrupt con man. Because if he actually believes that he is the savior against the neoliberal, NATO New World Order, then he could end up doing something like that. It's like the old quote about, I'd rather work with someone who's corrupt and lying than someone who's a true believer. If he's a true believer, if he really is a true believer, I could see him doing that. If his back's against the wall. I'm hoping that he's not. I'm hoping that it was a bluff to try to justify an invasion, in which case then you could end up in a situation where he's not, that he declares victory from behind by just retaining Donbass and Crimea. I hope. But if that doesn't work, then who knows? All bets are off on this one.
Yeah, it is. But so I have reason to believe that even if he were to say it, I don't think that Russia would do it.
Okay.
Now, apparently, obviously, Russia, the bastion of freedom that it is, should should you speak ill of the president, the leader, the sultan, things don't go well for you there. There was that band.
Barely.
There was that band Pussy Riot that was imprisoned next to Brittany Griner, and like there's been so many. The journalist that's now like a spy, or he may have just been a guy that was there, and they're accusing him of being a spy, and he's being held. But like if you say something bad about the president, you're getting thrown away, and that goes for Russian citizens as well as foreign nationals that are there. So recently, some people had spoken out against Putin, and they got called in. They got called in by the Russian police, and they got their stern talking to and left with fines. Which makes me think that even the Russians are kind of like, yeah, let's hold off on, throwing them in the prisons at this point.
Yeah. It's very possible. The one thing that scares me is that that concerns me at least, is that the most I guess virulent or the most active critics of Russia right now are the Russian nationalists who are saying he hasn't done this strongly enough. And my concern is if he says, well, you know what, they're right. I've been trying to play nice guy here.
Yeah.
I think sooner that would lead to, massive bombing campaigns and things like that, even more so than they've been doing. But the thing is, Ukraine's been getting all these billions in aid and weapon systems and everything else. It may have reached a point where the only thing he can do to try to really knock him out is to use nukes. I will say this, historically, much scarier people than Vladimir Putin have had access to nukes and did not use them. So true. I do wonder if there's this sort of, hyper survival mechanism that kicks in when the chance to actually press the button, make it happen, doesn't, you step back and go, I'm not going to do this. Or someone in your chain of command who you order to do it doesn't do it. That happened a few times during the Cold War, Cuban Missile Crisis, a few other times. I don't know. It's a tough one, man. It is a frightening prospect.
It is. It's a terrifying prospect. But the mutually assured destruction that everybody has always talked about. We talked about it on this show since before you were the co-host.
Yeah.
We always talked about the mutually assured destruction and how, there are crazy people out there. At the time it was Kim Jong. I think it was still the one that's there now.
Ill. It might have still been ill, right?
It may have been ill. I don't remember anymore because we've been doing this show so long. I don't remember who was in charge of North Korea. But whichever Kim Jong it was threatening nuclear attacks, and we said nothing's going to happen because China is the big brother. They're looking after North Korea. And if North Korea did that, China, I think, would back off and be like, nope, sorry, like we're not taking your back on this anymore. That could absolutely have changed now. But at the time, it wouldn't have made any sense for China to back them. So we knew that we called it, and we were right, that North Korea wasn't going to use nukes. In this situation, it's a weird situation because Putin has his back up against a wall in a way that he has never had it against a wall. He's being embarrassed on a global scale. And if he's actually having dissension in the ranks below him, he has it now where he's got to say, I have to do a show of force. And the only real question is if he decides to push that button, if he's like, screw it, I'm going to be out of here one way or the other, and I don't care about anybody else, I'm going to push the button or tell them to push the button. Will the generals do it, or will they say, no, let's wait for the next guy? That's the only thing I think that's holding it up.
That's the problem, right? So I'm trying to look at, by the way, it would have been Kim Jong-un because Kim Jong-il died in 2011.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So
So it was, yeah, it was
well
it was
before
Kim
this
Jong.
show started. 5 years
Yes.
before this show
I'm trying
started.
to third. I'm trying to find the guy that came up with the strategy. His daughter just died. Hold on, daughter. So there we go.
I like the uplifting intro
Alexander
you gave this
Dugin.
guy.
What's that?
The uplifting intro you gave Alexander Dugin.
Yeah. So Alexander Dugin came up with and it's called third position politics or something like that, third way politics. Basically, Alexander Dugin, who is a Russian nationalist, put forward a theory that and some of it is correct, but that the neoliberal Western world order has caused chaos and destruction and has led to massive inequities between the global North and the global South, or what we'd call the third world, and that you have a central banking system and military industrial complex that runs the world. And I mean, he's not wrong, but his belief is that the answer to that is for the Eastern world, Russia and China, led by Vladimir Putin, of course, is the antidote to it, to basically create a hyper nationalist super state that would supplant the liberal world order. Well, no, would be worse. And so, but that's his belief, and Vladimir Putin believes it very strongly. Alexander Dugin's daughter was recently killed in an assassination that everyone believes was meant for him. No one really knows. I'm not sure anyone took credit for that. You can let us know in the comments if anyone took credit for that. But the point of that is, if he really does believe that and isn't just saying it, yeah, he could end up using some pretty bad stuff because he, believes himself to be the savior of mankind. And it's those kind of people that are scary. And like you said, it really comes down to whether or not he's willing to push a button, and then whether or not the people he orders when he pushes the button to do the thing actually do the thing. Hopefully there's not a direct line to that button. Now, thankfully, we won't have to worry about this very soon, because some of the strongest people in the United States government, one of the strong, I call him the strong man of Washington, D.C., is hard at work right now to stop Vladimir Putin. That's right, Lyndsey Graham from my state, South Carolina.
Senator.
Yep, old Lady G. Lyndsey Graham is Lady G was his name on a dating app, I believe.
Was it really?
Lady G. Old Lady G is working hard at work with known Vietnam stolen valor man, Senator Richard Blumenthal, two really just upstanding human beings, they've introduced legislation that would designate Russia as a state sponsor of terrorism.
Now,
which is good. That'll fix it.
I want to know what I didn't read the bill. I just saw that and I thought it was really funny. And I kind of want to know what their argument is, because if their argument is they don't like that Russia looked at Ukraine and said, hey, there's some bad people in that government who are very corrupt, and they shouldn't be running the country the way that they're running the country, so let's go in and invade and instill our version of government in there. Lyndsey Graham should really take a step back and think about what he's saying.
Really, this is where if Lyndsey Graham did some shadow work, we wouldn't have to worry about this. But this is basically them saying, hey, they're doing what we do, making them a state sponsor of terrorism, which, I mean, not necessarily wrong, but kind of ironic if you think about it.
Right.
They're not necessarily wrong, but it's kind of like, of all the people to say that, Lyndsey Graham, well, I won't say that, but he's McCain with a southern drawl and a suspicious lisp, and he is also a big supporter of the policies that led to the Arab Spring and the creation of ISIS and Al Qaeda, and the Yemen, the genocide going on in Yemen that's being carried out by the Saudis and Al Qaeda under the sponsorship of the U.S. government. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's I know you are, but what am I type of thing.
That's exactly what I read. Like, I think it was the Washington Post. The Washington Post had the headline, and then like I read like the first two paragraphs, and I don't really care what their reasoning behind this is. It seems like what they're saying is what we do as a nation.
Yep.
Pretty
much. I support this 100% as long as they also designate the United States government a state sponsor of terrorism, because it's only fair.
It's only fair.
It's only fair. If we do that, I'm not sure what would happen there, but you know what? Fair is fair.
Actually, to be fair, because as we know, the war on drugs just made drugs stronger. The war on poverty just increased poverty. The war on terrorism has made terrorism stronger. So if we declare the United States government a state sponsor of terrorism, it would just really make the United States government stronger.
Well, so what would happen is, as soon as that happened, the CIA would airdrop a Toyota pickup truck with a machine gun on it to Lyndsey Graham. It's a weird clause in that legislation. So that is actually a good question. Are they doing this because they feel like Ukraine's doing too well against Russia, and so they want to start giving weapons to Russia to kind of keep it like they did with Iran and Iraq, where they would give
to keep it even
more and more weapons to Iran and Iraq to make sure it was a stalemate where millions died. That would be another example of state terror by the United States government, by the way. Yeah, that'll be very interesting to see. Now, thankfully, we don't have to rely on worrying about Russia, because we have a vibrant supply chain here in the United States. The interior of the United States is stronger than it's ever been. And of course, the very backbone of our internal infrastructure and supply chain is Amtrak. As we know from Amtrak user Joe Biden,
from countless Joe Biden speeches,
who literally makes up fake stories about his trips on Amtrak, even though there's no need to, because everyone knows he uses Amtrak. So there was literally no reason for him to make up people that had already died that supposedly said things that, like, there was no reason for it. But thankfully, again, that strong infrastructure of Amtrak is going stronger than ever, right, Matt?
I mean, if you ask Joe Biden, Amtrak is still the backbone of America and the strongest industry out there. That's massively subsidized by the federal government. But now Amtrak is going on strike.
Oh.
Yeah. So U.S. freight railroad workers are close to striking over claims that grueling schedules and poor working conditions have been driving employees out of the industry over the past several years. While I thought what was driving employees out of the industry over the past several years was technology.
But has Amtrak been keeping up with technology? Do we know that?
Are they planes?
Oh, you're saying, okay, just the being made obsolete. Yeah. But let's be clear about something. The only thing that is keeping Amtrak afloat at all is the Jones Act, because it is almost by an entire order of magnitude more efficient to ship it from one side of the country to the other using boats through the Panama Canal. Like, that is almost always, if you're going from East Coast to West Coast, it is almost always better to do it by boat. And if you're going from, say, the Northeast to the Gulf of Mexico or Florida or something like that, it is absolutely much less expensive, except for the Jones Act, which makes it prohibitively expensive and is basically a form of subsidization. It's a soft or indirect subsidization of the rail lines, which make it comparatively competitive, because of subsidization for the rail lines and restrictions and regulations and taxes and fees for the water and air travel.
Right. So because of Amtrak, which is allegedly going to start striking tomorrow, Thursday, the 15th, the Association of American Railroads estimates a shutdown could cost the economy more than $2 billion a day. Now, before I continue with what is said here, $2 billion a day is going to be shut down by Amtrak, who is highly touted by the president, who is talking about how we are in a strong economy and moving in the right direction with our 8.3 inflation, because we're moving in the right direction. Did you see that video of him? Did you see the video of him talking about that, by the way?
That 8.3 inflation is proof that we're moving in the right direction.
Yeah, that the Inflation Reduction Act worked, and it was 60 days. It was 45 days ago today that I signed the Inflation Reduction Act, and I'm proud to say that the inflation has moved down 0.2%, and we are heading in the right direction. While this is not a joke, you can find this video online. While he is doing this video, while he's giving this speech, in the Chiron at the bottom, it's showing the Dow just dropping. Just the more he talked, it was just like bam, 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 bam. And like it started out at like negative like 800. And by the end of his speeches at like negative 1200. Yeah, it was brutal. But so while he's out there talking about how great the economy is, and now his favorite son, because we know it's not Hunter, Amtrak, his favorite son, Amtrak, is going to shut down $2 billion a day in the economy right before the 2022 elections. They are going to try to push in more subsidy for them so fast, but the unions have to agree to it, and Amtrak's seen record profits, and the workers are saying that they aren't getting paid enough on top of everything else. So it's whether or not they can reach a deal. But the American Railroads estimate, Association of American Railroads estimate, they said could idle more than 7,000 trains daily and trigger retail product shortages, widespread manufacturing shutdowns, job losses, and disruptions to hundreds of thousands of passenger rail customers. So a lot of people may not remember this or know this. I kind of forgot about it until I was reading articles on it. If you live in the Northern Virginia area and you ride the VRE, that's run by Amtrak. It is not going to be running starting tomorrow morning. So that means you're driving to work in DC with all the new drivers. So I would start now.
Yeah, go ahead and head there now. And
yeah, you may as well just grab an Airbnb and get there now.
The $2 billion a day is just the estimated loss of capital from lack of commerce, that reduction in commerce. Right. That doesn't begin to talk about like what Matt was saying, the strain on traffic, the strain to the supply chain. $2 billion a day is a gross underestimation. You're probably looking at least $1 trillion in loss between now and if it were to continue through to even February or March. If this goes through the holiday season, put it that way, there will be $1 trillion in losses. It won't be $2 billion a day. It will be tens of billions of dollars a day if that happens. And it will be getting ready for election day, people being told, if you order something now, you will not get it in time for Christmas. That's not happening. That will be a direct result of an economy whose interior supply chain has been built on a heavily subsidized system whereby a single strike by workers who are saying, hey, why aren't we getting all these billions of dollars in subsidies too, couldn't shut down the entire thing. And that's a direct result of government interference in a market, in a true free market, air, sea travel, which is, again, these things are far more cost effective, especially sea travel, than rail, when you remove the regulations and taxes and fees and everything that are almost all from the Jones Act. This is yet another reason. Wouldn't it be funny if this led him to have to temporarily suspend the Jones Act in order to be able to allow more rail? That's not going to happen. It's not good. What he will do is push for massive. He'll push for billions of dollars in subsidies, hundreds of billions of dollars.
Oh yeah,
that you pay for.
Yeah, he will not end the Jones Act because it would effectively shut down Amtrak. because Amtrak would just become commuter at that point. There would be no reason for it to exist.
Yeah, that's pretty much what's happening there. And
Yeah.
once again, we can thank the government for centrally planning the backbone of our economy. When they make the backbone of something and it's held together by steroid infusions and tape and fusion surgeries and is still brittle and ready to break, that's not a good spine there. And that's what they've created with their terrible policies. And the only way to undo it is to undo their central planning. Speaking of which, actually, I'm not sure this is a good segue for that. Well, thankfully, you can still buy a gun. I'm not sure a good segue to this. So we now are going to have, if you're buying a gun, you will be participating in what is essentially a de facto gun registry.
It's true.
Or gun owner registry, anyway.
Unless you pay cash.
Unless you pay cash.
Unless you pay cash. So Visa, Amex, and MasterCard have all agreed to start separately categorizing sales at gun shops, which many gun control advocates have been fighting for this, and they say that it will help better track suspicious surges of gun sales that could prelude to a mass shooting, because we know that the people who commit mass shootings usually buy their guns legally.
And let's just put this aside for a second. Millions of transactions every day, pretty much. There is no effective way to track that no, it's not. This is not going to track suspicious people, especially since they're going to be using, cryptocurrency to buy 3D printed weapons or making them like that. This is not, or they're going to be buying them from gun traffickers who are sponsored by the ATF. They're not going to legally purchase a gun with a credit card and do so and give law enforcement agencies enough time to then be able to track it against their mental health history, social media history. This isn't real. What this will do is target law-abiding gun owners and have a registry to harass them with. That's all it's going to do.
Yeah, that's exactly what this is going to do. And so with Visa, the adoption is massively significant because they are, what is it, like one third to one half of the number of cards that are out there are Visa.
Are Visas.
Yeah, it's something like that. I don't remember what the exact number is, but they will put pressure on the banks as the card issuers. So Visa, your Bank of America's MasterCard, I know that, but let's say you take your MasterCard and you saved up your money, you've saved up all of your dollars that you've been able to save with the 8.3% inflation rate, and you're like, yay, I finally can buy this AR-15 that I've had my eye on for a while because I have been fiscally conservative, which our government doesn't understand, and I'm going to buy something to protect my house from potential people who are looking for, ways to make up that 8.3%. And now they're going to put pressure on the banks that are issuing these cards to adopt the standards as well. And so since Visa is acting as a middleman between the merchants and the banks, it will be up to the banks to decide whether they will allow sales at gun stores to happen on their issued cards. So how if you live in a state, I don't know if this is still the thing, I'm not sure, but if you live in a state where marijuana is legal, but it's federally illegal, credit card companies weren't accepting it, so you had to pay cash. That is what is going to happen. They will make it basically impossible to purchase a gun using a credit card, so you will have to use cash. Now comes the fun part, is as Mayor Adams, New York City Mayor Adams said, when you buy an airline ticket or pay for your groceries, your credit card company has a special code for those retailers. It's just common sense that we have the same policies in place for gun and ammunition stores. Now, gun stores sell more than guns and ammunition. They sell safes. They sell protective equipment. They sell the the range protective glasses thing.
The FLIR helmets. Yeah.
Yeah, they sell a lot of things that aren't guns. So if you go in and you purchase a gun safe and you are a responsible gun owner, it could get flagged as you are purchasing a couple of weapons, and then you are being looked at.
Pretty much. And the problem is all of this just encourages anyone who doesn't want to be tracked, which, by the way, the vast majority of people who don't want to be tracked aren't criminals. They're just people who don't want to be tracked.
Right.
It also includes criminals. So a small minority of those people that don't want to be tracked are still going to be able to buy it in cash or buy it illegally or whatever else. This does nothing to stop anything other than people just being able to buy guns without the government tracking them. And by the way, I have to say it, New York City Mayor Eric Adams, longtime NYPD cop, when you talk about back the blue, you're talking about Eric Adams. You're talking about people who think the problem is that you have too much autonomy over your life and you haven't been given enough orders that you have to follow under threat of immediate harm. That's who you're talking about. That's the vibe you're going with, to own the libs. Stop doing that. So this is exact. Go ahead.
Stephen Merritt asked which cards, and he said that I mush-mouthed it, and I may have. I do that often. But right now it's Visa, MasterCard, and Amex. I saw that you said you mainly use Discover. Discover was not on the list, but I don't know if they're far behind. So
they have just not included them because
right. They wanted everybody to switch to Discover. Discover paid for that article.
I'm going to look that up. That's Discover card.
Discover paid for the article to be written, so everybody would switch to Discover.
Like, this isn't even true. It's just something that
Discover made it up. So even if you go in and as Stephen Merritt said, they sell fishing gear. Yeah, they sell fishing gear there. They sell a lot of different things there. And all of it's just going to come in as a code, your 0087321. And people are going to say, oh, look, he made this huge purchase at a gun store. All right, we need to look into this person. And if it's any of us who are watching this, listening to us, subscribing to this on Anchor at anchor.fm/muddiedwater/subscribe, they're going to say, hey, look at these posts. They want people to be free. They believe that there really shouldn't be a government. They have yellow and black in their profile. They whatever else, whatever other thing counts us as domestic terrorists now, and they're going to say we need to go over there and we need to make sure that they are following the law, and then they show up and dunk and limp you.
Yep. I looked, I didn't see anything about Discover. It didn't say that they don't, but it didn't say that they do either. So you may find that the Discover may lean into this. They may go, Discover card, fuck around and find out.
Right.
And if that happens, we know that Discover card is now the official.
I hope to God that's
I know. I want that. I want to be hired by Discover as their marketing guy.
We should fuck around and find out.
It's a way of discovering. I mean, listen, it's a form of discovery.
It is a form of discovery.
Form of discovery. It's on brand. The kids like it. There's a lot to do there. There's a lot to go with that. And the thing is, you don't have to take it as a threat. You can do it as go on that camping trip you always wanted to go on. Let's find out together.
Right.
They probably have to change it to fool around and find out, right? Because it's for the kids. But you see the ads and the people are and it's like a wink wink thing, right? Like how the people in Utah they'll market to the Mormons, and they won't say hey Mormons, but it'll be obvious they're wearing the garments or something like that. They'll do a similar thing here. It'll be they'll say hey, fool around and find out, and they'll show them camping, but they're all wearing Hawaiian shirts, just little things where it's I get what's happening.
They're camping in the middle of the woods, but they're staying in an igloo.
Yeah. And it, like the person, it looks like they're a construction worker, but then you look and there's like cement on top of the bulldozer, and like just like, you know, little subtle things that make people go, oh, I think I'm getting a Discover card.
Why I switched. Why I switched to Discover. Dave Davis over on YouTube says University of Iowa fans have yellow and black in their profiles, and yes, that's true. That's why the FBI said that all University of Iowa fans are domestic terrorists. I think they're the Cornhuskers. You know, it sounds domestic terroristy. So
that sounds terrorist.
It does.
Whose corn are you husking there?
Right. Yeah. Why are you trying to husk corn?
Husking corn.
So the NRA, who you know is only doing this because it affects the people that give them money.
Exactly. Yep.
Came out and said something. Lars, nope, no idea. Lars over at the National Rifle Association.
Lars D.
Lars D. Dulcide?
Dulcide.
Lars over at the NRA said the industry's decision to create a firearm-specific code is nothing more than a capitulation to anti-gun politicians and activists bent on eroding the rights of law-abiding Americans one transaction at a time, which is weird because the NRA, it's true, but it's weird that the NRA is saying it because they have been bent on eroding the rights of law-abiding Americans one lobbyist at a time.
Yeah, one executive order at a time. The thing is, Matt hit the nail on the head before he even gave the quote. This hurts them because the NRA is not a gun rights group. They are a gun manufacturer lobby, and this hurts the big gun manufacturers.
Right.
This does not hurt. If this were a regulation on using Bitcoin or 3D printing or any of that, they would either be silent or they'd say, yes, this is what's needed to enforce the gun laws that are on the books, which they talk about all the time, by the way. The NRA constantly is saying, well, the problem is that they're not enforcing the current gun laws on the books. No, the problem is that there are gun laws on the books. Guys, that's the problem there, Lars.
That was Wayne LaPierre that was saying that in front of
Wayne LaPierre said that there. And I'm sure Lars agrees. Oh, Lars deal there. But so yeah, they're going to be very mad about this, and they're right. That's 100% correct. This decision capitulates to anti-gun politicians and activists bent on eroding the rights of law-abiding Americans one transaction at a time. Takes one to know one. So NRA still sucks. Lose them. Join GOA. Join National Gun Rights Association. Join Black Guns Matter. Join You Are the Power too. We're not explicitly a gun rights group, but we certainly support that. Give your money to other people. Join Muddy Waters Media by going to anchor.fm/muddywaters/subscribe. The first $10 of your now saved NRA membership, spend it right here.
Spend it right here.
Muddy Waters.
We promise we will buy a weapon with it.
We will. We'll buy a weapon. And we will never support any infringement on your gun rights or those of anyone else.
No,
that's our promise.
Never. I think felons should be able to own guns.
Yes. Oh, by the way, I didn't ever get to tell you this. So I was doing a panel. This was like a month ago now. I was doing a panel on gun rights. Actually, it was 2 months ago now, and it was me and Maj Touré and a lady named Gabby Hoffman, and it was hosted by Clint Russell. And we're sitting there, and it's mostly MAGA hat people, mostly conservatives. There were even some cops there, and we're doing this panel, and Maj Touré is talking about how Nipsey Hussle, the rapper back in 2018, how he was killed. And the reason he was killed was because neither he nor any of his crew were able to legally own weapons. They were trying to stay on the up and up because they were all convicted felons. And so they didn't have weapons, even though they were on their own property. And one guy with a gun was able to go there and kill Nipsey and shoot at the rest of them. And no one could do anything because they didn't have any weapons. And I hear some grumbling in the crowd, right? Because I hear them going, well, felons shouldn't be able to. So I said, okay, hold on. Let's clear the air for a second. Raise your hand if you think that the government should stop convicted felons be able to control and stop convicted felons from being able to own a firearm. And let's say like violent crimes, murder and kidnapping and assault. They've done their time, they're out, but they should should never be able to legally own a firearm again. And the people were being kind of shy, but everyone was kind of, I said, go ahead, raise your hand if that's what you think. A lot of people think that, whatever. And so most of the people had their hands raised. I said, okay, keep your hands raised if gun control works. And they all just immediately dropped it. And I said, there you go. So then you're against your own policy. It's my favorite thing.
Right. So, yeah, this is awful. And it kind of goes to, at what point, like, these are private companies. There's nothing that you can really do. But at what point, there's not a lot of other credit card companies out there.
Right.
You're not, I mean, you can get a Chime card, yes, if you want. I shouldn't knock it. That's where we have. But you can get like a Chime card or whatever, but eventually they're just going to try to make it where you have to pay cash for these things. And that's going to put a target on the back of every ammo gun store in the nation.
Yep.
And it's going to become a hotbed for so many issues. It's going to become a hotbed for so many crimes, so many issues. And they're going to end up, it's going to end up causing a ton of problems. And then again, your responsible gun owner who goes out and he buys a nice safe to keep all of his rifles and other, his handguns, everything,
right.
Lock it up. Just door kicked in by the ATF. Yep. Dog shot because ATF come in. Then they're just going to set everything on fire. And then they're going to say, well, he was using a 50 cal to fire at our helicopter. And this is one of the scariest things that a private company can do, but they're only doing it because they know they'll get bailed out in the end when they start losing money.
Well, and that's the thing, right? Like, this is not a private action. This is the same thing as Facebook and Twitter and the rest of them censoring wrongthink on social media. It is being directed by government. It is politicians that are threatening them with actions. If they don't do this, they'll be held liable. And if they do it, then they'll get subsidies and breaks and protections and all of that stuff. Now, superfan Sarah Anderegg made a good point here. This could be a huge boom to Dave Ramsey because he's been telling everyone not to get a credit card for years now. So here, this is Dave's moment. Here, this is the Dave Ramsey revolution. You thought the Ron Paul revolution was something. Wait till you hear the Dave Ramsey revolution, where all the boog boys are out just canceling their credit cards and buying cash. Unless Discovery comes through. This is Discovery's moment.
This is Discovery's moment. Discover. Discover.
It's the Discovery Channel's moment too. If they really.
Yeah, the Disney company.
The Disney company.
Yeah, but I'm betting Discovery Channel's like, yeah, go on out there, buy your AR-15s and your Glocks and your Walthers and everything else. Where we're at with everything there, like, these private companies aren't doing things as private companies. They're being aided and abetted by the government. And that technically no longer makes them private companies. So when we say, well, they're a private company, they can do what they want. Yeah, if you're a private company, yes, you can do what you want. But when you start taking direction from the government in exchange for subsidies, kickbacks, whatever, you are no longer a private company, and you are now just acting as an arm of the government.
Yep, exactly.
So,
this is what happens when you have the government involved in policy. They're doing things like this. It's absolutely terrible. The NRA is going to do nothing about this. Yep. They're going to piss and moan, and what they're going to do is try to get people to give more money to the NRA, who will do absolutely nothing about this. The only thing that can be done here, and we've said it many times, is getting government out of this entirely. End the NFA, and whatever Ronald Reagan's anti-gun bill was called, and this new safety, whatever the bill they called it, that was sponsored by the Safe Communities Act. Every single thing on the books, eliminate the charter for the existence of the ATF, and for that matter, the FBI and the Department of Homeland Security. Get them out of it entirely. Government does not keep you safe. Government makes you less safe and makes you more susceptible to harm. Get them out of it entirely. But a good place to start is undoing one bill at a time, removing, or better yet, all of them at once, undoing government's mandates that clearly violate the Second Amendment and put the right of the people to keep and bear arms back with no exceptions whatsoever. That's it.
Charlotte Ray Allen.
And you know the next... Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, not Charlotte. Sorry, Charlotte. Thank you for watching. Sherry Conover Charlo said, does the NRA accept donations through Visa? And if the NRA was really going to stick to their guns, they would stop. Just accept it through Bitcoin.
Yep.
Yep,
exactly. So here's another thing you can do to fight for freedom, and that is join us at anchor.fm/muddywater/subscribe. Now, what's going to happen if you do that? Well, you're going to get to tune into our next episode, our special episode that's only for subscribers that comes out on Saturday. What's it going to be about? Oh, boy, are you going to be shocked to discover what it's about. You got to join. You got to join if you want to find out. We don't even tell you what it's about, but it's going to be incredible. It's going to be absolutely incredible. So we hope that you join us for that. And we also hope that you enjoyed this incredible live episode of the Muddy Waters of Freedom. And we will hope to see you on Saturday with the coming the next subscriber only episode. Again, anchor.fm/muddywater/subscribe. But in the meantime, folks, we had a great time with you. We hope you enjoyed it as well. And if we don't see you this weekend, then we'll see you next week. And we love you anyway. We love you more if you're a subscriber, but we love you anyway. And where we're going...
man, hang on a second. I forgot how to do this part. Okay. I had to find where I'm supposed to click. We don't need roads.
And now, Matt Wright and Spike Cohen.